Thank you. Well, I'm going to sit down here. I think they have the microphone on. I don't think I need the microphone. But in any event, it's a great privilege to be back here at the Library and Archives here in Ottawa. And I want to thank Chief Archivist and Grace and so many people who've helped me over the years, Pierre and toute la gang. Also, mentioning the book, this isn't a book launch, for God's sake, here tonight, but I want to thank the Archives for supporting the great day we had at Queen's University a few weeks ago, where we launched the 40th anniversary of my book, Politics of Purpose, which was my book in the 1968 leadership campaign for the leadership of the Liberal Party. It had my speeches since I was first elected in 1962 right through to 68. This new edition has the speeches for the last 40 years. And as a matter of fact, Queen's is going to use it as the first edition of and they're going to try to persuade other former prime ministers to vet their speeches and publish a series of books under the Queen's Institute of Democratic Union. In any event, I also want to say that we're going to stay in touch with the Archives because I haven't finished my own memoirs. They're not going to be memoirs. They're going to deal with issues. I'm not going to deal with the people I've dealt with over the years. Too many people trusted me with their secrets, and I'm not going to betray them in any memoirs. And at any rate, the Archives have been very, very important, and I'm very, very proud of my association with them. Elizabeth McAninch is not here tonight, but she's been very helpful, as Grace knows. Arthur Mills is here, the co-editor of the Politics of Purpose. Where are you, Arthur? There he is, back there at Queen's. He's now with the Institute of Democratic Institutions at Queen's. He was with the Whig Standard. Ian, I won't comment about you until I hear what you have to say. But Ian mentioned you're going to talk about what happened to the Liberal Party. I said, yeah, I'm going to talk about what happened to the Liberal Party. But I'm going to talk about it in terms of what's happening to the political process in Canada. The future of the Liberal Party doesn't depend on a leadership contest. That's vital. But more important is going right back to the fundamentals of what a political party should be, going right back to the grassroots, going back to the riding, going back to individual human beings living in communities, going back to community associations, going back to universities, going back to schools, high schools, public schools. It's going to be a far more fundamental process than just a leadership convention. And as I said in Kingston a number of weeks ago when I was there for this Politics of Purpose, I had the great opportunity of being a delegate to the Liberal Policy Convention in 1960 in Queens, which revitalized, under the leadership of Mr. Pearson, the intellectual scheme of the Liberal Party of Canada, led by Jack Pickersgill, and Mitchell Sharp, and Walter Gordon, Alan McEachran, and others. And I was invited there because I was the chairman of the Junior Bar Association of Montreal, lawyers with fewer than 10 years practice. I presented a paper to the Liberal Convention, the Liberal Policy Convention in Kingston in 1960, proposing a legal aid program for Canada. I want to tell you, and I've said this to younger people, I was 30 years old then. In 1968, when Mr. Trudeau became Prime Minister, he appointed me Minister of Justice. And in 1968, 6 years after I proposed legal aid as Minister of Justice, I implemented it. That's what you can do if you get involved in the political process. And that's what I'm saying to young people today. So we need a policy convention, grassroots renewal, riding by riding, community by community, a younger generation. I've been involved for a number of years in Toronto with Dr. Fraser Mustard, with an outfit called Does Your Vote Really Count Anymore? And we've been canvassing, Ian, younger people across the country for the last 15 years. Why aren't you voting? Why aren't you involved? What's wrong with the political process? And the answers we get are very, very interesting. And first of all, it's a more materialistic age. Younger people don't want to make the financial sacrifice. Secondly, there's pressure on the marriage of young people who are thinking about being involved in the political process. Thirdly, and we didn't have this in our era, but I'll get back to that. Thirdly, the media penetration into private lives is not encouraging young men and women to get into politics. None of us is a saint. I remember when we used to have great annual dinners of the press gallery in Ottawa. John Grace is the editor of the Ottawa Journal, was the editor of the Ottawa Journal then. He used to come. We used to have all the press, all the media guys there, and all the leaders of the parties. And in the midst of one of my speeches, Alan Fotheringham, a great national journalist, gets up at the back of the room and he says, "Turner, how about telling us about some of your personal escapades?" I said, "Fotheringham, if I were you, I wouldn't pursue it. I got twice as much on you as you got on me." In any event, the media penetration into private lives is not encouraging younger people to get involved. And finally, the role of the member of parliament has diminished so that younger people consider it's not worth the job it used to be. And I'd like to deal with that because I've been dealing with that since my speech in 1963 to the Rotary Club of Montreal. And this is what I said then. We've got to watch the control of the Prime Minister's office. We've got to watch the control of the party whip and controlling discipline in the House of Commons. It controls who can ask questions now in question period, which used to be a free, open discussion. Only 2% in the last 10 years of private members' bills have ever got to a vote. Standing committees have become a farce. No longer free, no longer ready to operate. And in 1963, for the Rotary Club of Montreal, I said, how do we solve this? We remove the party whip. We take the party discipline away from all bills in the House of Commons, except the throne speech, which is government policy, the budget, which is taxation, which is fundamental, or an issue that may be declared of national importance. In any event, the younger generation is still reluctant. And I'm talking, Ian, about your contemporaries, about becoming involved in the political process. I don't care which political party. I just want you involved in the democratic process. I've been recommending to premiers that I know well, beginning with Gordon Campbell in British Columbia, and Ralph Klein later in Alberta. I've talked to Dalton McGuinty here, but I talked to Mike Harris about this years ago, and premiers in Quebec, Frank McKenna in New Brunswick in those days, Alec Patterson in Prince Edward Island. Let's have civic classes in our education. Civics at the primary school level, civics at the high school level, and civics in university. I went to public school and high school here in Ontario. Then we moved back to British Columbia. The first time I learned anything about Canadian history was in second year university at the University of British Columbia. I learned no Canadian history in an Ontario high school in Ottawa and no Canadian history in public school. That's the way the education system was in this province. So I'm saying that to the younger people here, whom you're representing here tonight, Ian, that democracy doesn't happen by accident. Democracy needs human will, human involvement, human entanglement, human conversation, and human cooperation. And we have to work at it. So my message here to the students here tonight, here at the archives and here under the auspices of the University of Ottawa, with some Carleton students here as well, Ottawa Carleton. Get involved, because it's not going to happen by accident. Ian, that's my message. Thank you.